Hello guys and gals, and welcome. So today we're going to be going over the new zones which have been bumped to level 85. If you are unaware of this, well, now you are. They have added a bunch of new zones in the 2.4 public test realm, which are going to be increased in level from their original level to level 85 so that the monsters in them can drop higher level equipment. This will diversify the number of Magic Find zones that we have available to us and will give us a little bit more of sanity as we don't have to farm the same exact zone over and over again. Now, a full list of the zones can be seen right here. I have quite a few. So we've got Act 1 in the Underground Passage level 2 is getting bumped to 85, which is pretty cool. We've got Stony Tomb levels 1 and 2 are both getting bumped to 85 in Act 2. In Act 3, we've got several areas. We've got the Arachnid Lair, which is pretty sweet because that's right next to the waypoint. We've got Swampy Pit levels 1, 2, and 3, which is also right next to the waypoint. Disused Fane, Ruined Temple, and Forgotten Reliquary are little zones inside of places like Kurast Bazaar, Upper Kurast, things like that. And there is actually also 2 other level 85 zones in that particular area, so not bad. We also got the Sewers level 1 in Act 3, not to be confused with Sewers level 1 in Act 2. Sewers level 1 in Act 3 is actually a huge zone, and could be a very nice place for magic finding. Sewers level 2 has always been 85, but it's a very small zone. Abaddon, Pit of Acheron, and Infernal Pit in Act 5 are now going to be level 85, and also Drifter Cavern and Icy Cellar. So what we are planning to do today is we are going to actually go through the process of taking a look at these zones and seeing what kind of characters can actually farm these zones. Like, you know, it doesn't matter that it's level 85. If it's full of cold immunes, you're not going to be able to go there on your cold sorceress. If it's full of poison immunes, you're not going to be able to go in there with your poison necromancer or your rabies druid. You know, whatever it may be that you're farming on, we are going to search and see what these zones are good for and what they are not. So I'm going to start with the Act 1 zones, and we're going to move up from there. And as we go forward, this video will be broken into segments. I'm gonna put chapters in here so that you guys can filter through and find the zone that you would like to try and farm. Now, I'm actually going to pull out data, and I'm going to see which monsters spawn in these zones. We're also going to go there, and we're going to take a look, and we're going to get an idea of what kind of resistances these monsters have, what kind of immunities these monsters have, and whether or not the monsters in these zones are going to be good to farm for you specifically. So I hope you will join me on this journey. It's going to take a little while, but I think it will be worth it. Now, for the first zone, we have quite a few options on how to get there. You could potentially go to Dark Wood. You could go to Stony Field, either one, and you can travel backwards through Dark Wood, or you could travel forwards through Stony Field. I'm going to take a bet and say that traveling backwards through Dark Wood is probably the superior option here. And you can also kill Treehead Woodfist while you're at it, which is probably a good, easy magic finding monster. So you never know, you might find something good from Treehead, and he does tend to be next to the waypoint sometimes. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to teleport around until you find the pathway. And once you find the pathway, that is going to lead you to Underground Passage. And once you're inside of Underground Passage, you're going to have to find level 2. And this might be the most difficult part of this particular zone. But here we go. There is level 2. And so in level 2, we're going to take a look and see what monsters we've got. So we definitely have a lot of immune to fire, which is sad because I'm a fire sorceress. So this would definitely not be a good place for a fire sorceress, it looks like. We also have more immune to fires over here. Definitely a lot of immune to fires. And I'm an energy shield sorceress and I just got mana burned. We also have some immune to lightning. A lot of immune to fire, a little bit of immune to lightning, not too big of a deal. We also got a super chest and some immune to poison. So it really looks like cold might be the best bet for here. However, not all monsters that spawn in a zone will appear on your first go-through. So let me take a quick look at the monsters that spawn in this particular zone. And according to all the websites, we've got the Fallen, The Fallen almost always have a fire immunity, so definitely ones that you would want to avoid for fire characters. We also have the Fallen Shamans, of course, which are immune to fire. We have the Carver Shamans, which I believe are also immune to fire, and they can spawn in here as well. Yep, they have 110% fire. So this zone is looking very much like not a good place for fire characters. We also have the skeleton archers, which always spawn poison immune, which is definitely not nice. They're going to spawn poison immune every single time, and they're going to be, I think they might even be unbreakable poison immune, because some of them are in the 130 and 140% range, which is unbreakable. So even if you do happen to have lower resist, it's probably still not going to work. Now, granted, it's just the skeletons that are poison immune. We also have the tainted, which spawn in here, which are going to be immune to lightning, and so really the only thing that we don't have in here is the cold immunity monsters. And according to the list here, there is one monster that does potentially spawn in here called a Vile Hunter. And the Vile Hunter can be cold immune, and of course unbreakably cold immune at that. But for the most part, it really just seems like the fire characters are probably going to avoid this particular place. So let's keep that in mind as we go forward, that this particular zone, not really that great for fire characters. And let's go to the next zone, shall we? So our next zone is Stony Tomb, and it's levels 1 and 2. And Stony Tomb is actually in Rocky Waste, if I remember correctly, which means that the best place to get to Stony Tomb is probably just to walk straight out of the door. So we're going to walk straight out of the door, and we're going to teleport around, and we're going to see if we can find Stony Tomb. It should actually be just in this particular zone. And we will just teleport around a little bit, and we should find it. And there we go. This is the Stony Tomb level 1. So relatively easy to get to. Not as easy as Arachnid Lair, which is going to have monsters right next to it. But we also have here, horrors. So we've got lightning, some more lightning skeletons. We've got lightning bugs. So far, a lot of lightning. This looks like it may be a good place for fire sorceresses as well as cold sorceresses, but we're going to have to take a look at the official list and see what kind of stuff we've got. I just found a, what is that? Ice blink? I swear the color on my monitor must be off a little bit, because even the rare items sometimes look like uniques. Hello there, Mr. Soul Right Shade. So we've got a pretty nice amount of elites in here. It's definitely some interesting number of elites. A lot of skeletons, a lot of undead, of course, so maybe a good place for a physical damage character. Specifically, maybe one building Sanctuary and random things like that. I just found an ethereal, unique barb shield. Interesting. This place is going to be a very interesting place to come and magic find really quickly. It's not very large, though, as you can see. It's a relatively small zone, but it does have 2 levels, so we do get to go down to the bottom level here, and let's see if the monsters have changed here. So now we have some more lightning immunes. These guys don't have an immunity. That's interesting. Definitely some armor stands down here. A lot of sarcophaguses, clickables, a lot of clickables. Definitely a good sign, because clickables are great for level 85 zones. You can find a lot of good stuff in the clickables. Even high runes can drop from clickables, believe it or not. A lot of poison here, though. Going to come here with some poison resistance, hopefully. And let's see what we got. So far, I'm seeing... Oh, here's some zombies. What are these guys? Immune to poison. Alright. So we've got lightning and poison here. Now, granted, every time you go into a zone, the potential monsters can change. So it's not always going to be the same. So we're going to have to do a little bit of research, and we're going to find out exactly what kind of monsters can spawn here. And of course, you do get the super chest at the end of this particular level. So let's go really quickly on the internet, and let's see what kind of levels, or rather monsters, can spawn in this zone. So potential monsters that can spawn in this zone are Burning Dead Mages, which we did find out were not immune to anything. They had no relative immunity, which is nice. I mean, as long as they're not immune to things, we should be okay. But they could potentially be immune to something, so keep that in mind. We're talking about monsters that that change depending on their elite status, whether they have certain modifiers or not. We also have the Horrors and the Dung Soldiers. Both of those were immune to lightning. So the Burning Dead Mages, I think, are the real wrench in the equation here, because we're talking about a monster that changes his resistance depending on the element that he's wielding. So just looking at these particular monsters, like looking at the Burning Dead Mages, it looks like they can potentially be immune to any element depending on their attack. So if they are a lightning type, they could potentially be immune to lightning. If they're a cold type, they can potentially be immune to cold. If they're a fire type, they could potentially be immune to fire. The poison one, however, for some reason is not immune, which is a little odd. And I do find that a little odd. So the Burning Dead Mages tend to have a little bit less of the resistances than the others. So the ones that are in this particular zone are mainly going to be immune to fire, which throws a little wrench in the fire immunes in this particular zone. But for the most part, we're looking at lightning and poison. So cold mages might actually have a very good time here, as well as physical damage characters, because I'm not seeing a lot of physical immune monsters in this particular zone, which is very interesting. So Stony Tomb levels 1 and 2, it looks like we are looking at physical damage characters, and cold damage characters will have the primary use of this zone, with fire characters not being too bad, with only a couple monsters in here that may be immune to fire, mainly the Burning Dead Mages. So very interesting. So cold and fire for the Stony Tomb zone. So let's move on to the next zone, which is the Arachnid Lair. Alright, so here we are in Act 3, and Arachnid Lair is going to be super duper easy, right? So Arachnid Lair is literally Spider Forest. And all you have to have is the Spider Forest waypoint. It's super easy, and usually Arachnid Lair is literally right next to the waypoint, which I feel like is going to make this one an extremely popular choice. Having the Arachnid Lair so close to the waypoint means we are going to end up with some very interesting and very fast Magic Find runs in this zone. I would say without a doubt that after this change, Arachnid Lair is going to become a very popular place. But the question is it going to become a popular place for which characters? Some characters are probably not going to want to come here. And the answer to that question lies in the monsters that are inside. So inside we have flame spiders, poison spinners, we have giant lampreys, we also have fiends, giant lamprey eggs, giant lamprey young, and flying scimitars. So if we go by just the monster types that we're looking at here, I'm definitely going to say that we're looking at fire, poison, and probably some other elements. But let's take a look really quickly inside, and let's see what kind of monsters are in there at the moment. Now, granted, not all of the monsters will spawn in the particular zone. So we've got poison immunes. We also have fire immunes so far. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to kill the fire immunes. Let's see if my mercenary can do the job for me. Unfortunately, the fire immune is also physical immune because of Stone Skin. So unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be able to take that particular monster out. So it looks like fire and poison are probably not going to be welcome here. Because it looks like a very healthy mix of both fire and poison. A lot of fire and poison going on with the spiders. We've got so many fire spiders. It's actually kind of ridiculous. I think it's more fire than it is poison. We've also got the giant lamprey, which are immune to poison. So a very healthy mix of poison and fire here. And of course, we also have the super chest at the end. Nice Talrune there. And quite a few elite packs, monsters, quite a few monsters that are going to be naturally immune to poison and fire. Definitely not the best place for a fire sorceress, which is what I am. But let's take a look really quickly at the monster list. So we have the giant lampreys, which we know are immune to fire. We also have the fire and poison spiders, which are both going to be immune to those elements, which is kind of bad. We also have the bats. Apparently there are bats in here, and the bats, I believe, are always immune to lightning. Although these particular bats in the Arachnid Lair are called giant lamprey. So let's take a look at the giant lamprey and see which particular immunity the giant lampreys are. I don't see them on the list. My poor mercenary over there is just struggling with that guy, isn't he? That's the immune to physical. Immune to physical. I would assume that the giant lampreys are immune to lightning, but sometimes they are not. So let me create a new game, because every time you create a game, the monsters inside that zone are going to randomize. And this is important because you're not always going to end up with the same monsters in each zone. And so let's take a look and let's see what's in the zone the second time. The lampreys should be in there well, sometimes. Hopefully we'll get them so we can take a look and see what resistances they are. Oh yeah, well, let me forget to cast my energy shield. Alright, there we go. So they are lightning immune monsters. So so we have lightning, we have poison, and we also have fire. So that means that the Arachnid Lair is going to be a fairly good place to farm for a cold or a physical damage character. Cold and physical are things that certain characters share in common. Like, for instance, a Freezing Arrow Amazon would have a good time in there. A Ice Sorceress would have a good time in there. Maybe a Hurricane Druid Hurricane Druids are physical and cold. So those characters would have a pretty good time in those particular zones. Now, the next zone on the list is also in Act 3, so we are going to go to that one next, is the Swampy Pit. So the Swampy Pit is always next to the Flared Jungle waypoint. So if you take the Flare Jungle waypoint, the Swampy Pit is always right there next to it, which is very easy to get to. Not bad at all. However, the monsters that are inside the Swampy Pit may be a little bit of a deterrent to you guys and gals out there who want to do your magic finding. So don't get too excited about the fact that this is an easy place to farm, because as we go forward, you may find out that you don't necessarily want to be here. Now, the monsters that can potentially spawn in the Swampy Pit are Gloams. That's right, Gloams. Fiends, Water Watchers, Feeders, Minions, Undead Soul Killers, Undead Stygian Dolls, and Preserved Dead. So we are going to be looking at a lot of undead in here. We definitely have the Gloams, which are undead, the Dolls, which are undead, the it's just lots and lots of undead in here. Maybe a very good place for a ranged character specifically, and of course we also have the Fiends, which are going to be immune to lightning. So Gloams are always immune to lightning. Fiends are immune to lightning. So we're already looking at a very poor lightning farming zone, and that's pretty par for the course when it comes to this kind of stuff. We also have Gloams in here, which are painful as all get out. Which may make this a place that you would not want to come to magic find. As you can see, we've already got Gloams in here. We also have the immune to lightning fetish, or little fetishes, and then the shaman himself is immune to fire, which may not be too big of a deal considering he's just a one monster, and your mercenary may be able to take him out. But so far, we've got a lot of lightning in here, just a lot of lightning, and there's really not much we can do about all this lightning in this particular zone, so any Javazan or lightning sorceress may want to steer clear. Alright, so let's teleport around here and let's see what we can find, get ourselves into trouble, shall we? So we also have Swampy Pit Level 2, of course. Oh, and a whole pack of Gloams. Woo-hoo-hoo! The deadliness of this zone should not be lost on you. those gloams are deadly. So if you're coming in here to farm a magic find, this might not be the best place for you to farm. And let me just go back and get my body real quick, shall I? Well, you know what they say about when you fall off a horse, you're going to get right back in the saddle again. Deep into the jungle we go. So the Swampy Pit, tons and tons of gloams. Now, that was actually my fault, the reason why I died there, because I did teleport directly into a pack of gloams. Certainly not the best thing to do, teleporting directly into a pack of gloams like that. And really, we're looking at lots of lightning monsters. And of course, the gloams themselves can be avoided. They're not unresistible. So one thing that I would recommend is that if you really want to get through this zone in one piece, you're going to have to build up your lightning resistance. And you're probably going to need to use something like Blackthorn's Face, Wisp Projector, and you could also use T-Gods. These items together in combination with a 95% lightning resistance will usually make you completely immune to these guys. I know because I've done it before. So we also have Swampy Pit Level 2. And Swampy Pit Level 2 is also going to be probably pretty dangerous. And first thing, of course, we've got little dolls. So dolls can be relatively easy to kill if you have a good mercenary who's tanky enough. But keep in mind that if you're a melee character, maybe not the best place to come. I think this zone is looking more and more like a ranged character domain. We also have fire immune drowned carcasses. So not looking good for my fire immune character, my fire character. We've got still more lightning monsters. I'll give a health potion to my poor mercenary who's struggling here. So far, lots of lightning, lots of fire, and lots of poison. I did see, well, I want to say lots of poison, but some poison. The dolls are immune to poison. Which is definitely not a good thing for the dolls to be immune to poison. They certainly are painful, I'll tell you that much. Lots of fire. I'm seeing lots of fire. All right, so we've got the area sort of like mapped out now, and shouldn't there be a level 3? I thought there was a Swampy Pit level 3. There it is over there. Okay. All right, and then we've got the third level here, which is also going to be level 85, and we're looking at some more lightning immunes. Level 3 is a little large. Lots of caskets to click on, baskets. It's a rather interesting zone. Not bad. Lots of traps and poison here, though. I definitely, if you're going to come in here, I would definitely have some poison resistance, because it just looks like there's a ton of poison traps all over the place. And of course, the little fetishes spit poison as well. So you're probably going to be constantly just melting away with poison damage. It's a very interesting zone. Let's take a quick look at the list here for the monsters, and let's see if we missed anything. So we did see the Preserved Dead, and they were immune to fire. The Stygian dolls, or the Stygian dolls, or the I'm just going to call them bone fetishes. The bone fetishes were immune to poison, which is a thing. So we definitely had a bunch of poison immunes, a bunch of fire immunes, and a bunch of lightning immunes. So cold seems to be the best bet for this particular zone. Cold and physical. But I probably wouldn't bring a physical damage character here because the dolls are going to murder you. You're going to need a good minions, good army. And honestly, I get the feeling with this particular zone that the best person to farm this zone is probably a necromancer, but due to all the restricted halls and everything, it's just not going to work out very well for the necromancer, and I'm really not sure. This zone is going to be an odd one. The cold sorceress seems like the best one to farm this zone, but those gloams and the dolls are definitely going to make this a prohibitive place to run. You're definitely going to lose EXP here. But the ease of access of this particular place, the quick how many monsters are here, is definitely going to make it a very interesting place to farm. I think that this is going to be a place that people do farm, but it's also going to be a place that people probably build specialized equipment for to go in. And I would keep that in mind. As a necromancer, I tend not to have any issues with dolls, but I also probably wouldn't bring my summon necromancer into the Swampy Pit, just simply because it's such a restrictive area. So let's move on to the next zone, and the next zone is also in Act 3, and we are going to talk about that zone too, which is the Disused Fane, the Ruined Temple, and the Forgotten Reliquary. So these 3 zones are actually complemented by another 2 zones which are already level 85, and we're going to start there. So if we go to Travancore, which is a very popular farming place, and you teleport south, you will find the Kurast Causeway. And in the Kurast Causeway are 2 zones, the Disused Reliquary and the Ruined Fane. Both of these right here are already level 85, and they have been level 85 for some time. Those 2 zones are actually pretty cool because you can go in them, you can farm them really quickly for some stuff, and the monsters in them tend to be things like snakes, which are cold immune. We also have some other monsters in here, but this video is not about these zones. These zones already exist, and if you want to farm those, we can. We're going to go talk about the other zones, which are in Upper Kurast and Kurast Bazaar. So spread throughout the area are these little zones like this, and what we're looking for is the Disused Fane, the Ruined Temple, and the Forgotten Reliquary. So not this one. This is the Forgotten Temple. We definitely don't want that one. There are generally 2 temples in each zone. This one is the Forgotten Reliquary, which is on the list. So this is one of the new zones right here, Forgotten Reliquary. And right off the bat, we have magic immunes. So not a good sign for a bone spear or bone spirit necromancer or a hammered-in. We've also got cold immunes, so that pretty much rules out 2 of the main classes for this particular character. So we're already looking at no cold sorceresses and no hammered-ins and no bone spear necromancers. We have a lot of cold. There's also cold huntresses as well, so very interesting. So this zone actually might be a good one for lightning and fire characters, and we'll keep looking as we go forward.
It's locked.
Got a lot of chests in here. Got a lot of clickables. Got a lot of weapon racks and things like that. It's very interesting. So probably a pretty good place for you to come and do some magic finding. These wailing beasts are definitely magic immune. A lot of magic immunities in here. So we're going to have to keep that in mind as you look at this zone. A lot of colds. I'm actually seeing a really high amount of cold. And not only the undead monsters, but also the little fighter girls, or demons, or whatever they are. I think they're actually orcs. But it's a very small zone. Not really a whole lot to it, except for just chests and elites everywhere. Very high concentration, so a pretty nice place to farm. And I rather like it. So that's the first one. The other 2, I believe, are in Upper Kurast. So we're going to make our way over to Upper Kurast, which is, of course, down this way. And we'll check these just in case, though, because I'm not 100% sure they're in Upper Kurast. Or Kurast Bazaar. So this one is Disused Fane. Yes, Disused Fane is one of them. So let's take a look at Disused Fane. So right off the bat, we've got fire spiders. Definitely not what I wanted to see as a fire character. We've got a lot of magic immunes, and we've got some cold immunes too, from what I saw there. Although they're a little, that was really deadly, and I'm almost dead. That was very scary. That was scary indeed. Ormus, please cure my poison, sir. those spiders have a ridiculous poison. And as an energy shield sorceress, there's not a lot that makes me scared. Two things that really mess me up as an energy shield sorceress are poison and mana burn monsters, and poison eats right through my energy shield. It doesn't even get checked by the energy shield, and man, they just ripped my energy my health away. So we've also got cold immunes in here. So we're rocking fire immunes, cold immunes, and magic immunes, which says to me that we have a rather large concentration of monsters that could be killed by lightning and physical. I'm not seeing any physical damage in here, so physical damage characters might be alright. My mercenary seems to be having absolutely no issue. He's pretty well decked out as far as his equipment goes, and he's able to really beat things up. I'm super excited for the barbarian changes, by the way, because he's going to be getting stronger, and I'm super excited about him getting stronger. And as you can see, this is hell difficulty, and he doesn't have much issue with these spider maguses. I actually use him to help me with these immunes, which is very helpful. Now let's take a look at the list really quickly while we're waiting on our mercenary to take care of these spiders, and let's see what other areas or what other monsters are present in the Disused Fane. So the Disused Fane spawns Flesh Hunters, Wailing Beasts, Spider Maguses, and Night Lords. So the Flesh Hunters are the ones that we haven't looked at yet. I'm pretty sure they're immune to cold, though. I'm fairly certain. They're down here in this mess. I always try to give him as much help as I can with static field and things like that to speed up his kill rate. I'm actually really excited that he's going to be even killing faster with the upcoming patch. He's rocking the best weapon that he can possibly rock, which is an Ethereal Head Striker. If you guys are unaware, Ethereal Head Striker is literally the best weapon for this particular merc. Damage-wise, anyway. Alright, so here we go. So it looks like the Flesh Hunters are cold immune. So far, this Disused Fane definitely seems like a very good place for a Lightning Javazon, a Lightning Sorceress, or any characters that have really high amounts of physical damage as well. Perhaps you are a Lightning / physical character. That sounds pretty good. Alright, so we've covered the Disused Fane, we've covered the Forgotten Reliquary. We don't have the Ruined Temple yet, so let's see if we can find the Ruined Temple. And look at my HP. This poison is just killacious, isn't it?
Impossible.
Just the most killacious poison, and I'm just and he just even killed my merc too. And this is important. This kind of stuff might seem silly for me to show on camera, me horribly dying to poison, but my mercenary just died, and I just died to poison. That zone is so full of poison, it's ridiculous. And any of those spiders is going to absolutely rip your HP down if your poison resistance is not high enough, and your mercenary's poison resistance is not high enough. So, do keep that in mind as we're looking at these zones, that freaking poison damage is nuts. So let's see if we can find the other zone here. So we should have the other zone in this area. We just need to teleport around and find it. And I think that's it right there. The Ruined Temple. Was that the correct one? Yes, the Ruined Temple. So this is the Ruined Temple, and let's take a look inside of here, and let's see what kind of monsters we have. So right off the bat, we've got some cold immunes. We've got even more cold immunes. Lots and lots of cold immunes. So it could be a very good place for a fire sorceress. Could be a very good place for a fire druid, I suppose. A fire Amazon. We're definitely got a lot of cold monsters in here, just in general. Actually, this is the Ruined Temple. We were looking for the Ruined. Oh no, this is the right one. Okay, the Ruined Temple. Lots of clickables in here, very nice. We also have some nice little pockets over here with more chests, and of course I don't have any keys. Very little small, tiny zone. Not exactly the largest zone in the world. I mean, look at that. That was absolutely silly as far as size. I mean, I guess if you were here already doing, you know, like LK runs or something like that, that could be useful. All right, so next on the list we have the sewers. So the sewers is a really big zone, and you can find the sewer entrances anywhere. So if you take a look on the map, they look like this, and they are very, very easy to find all over the place. Sewers level 2 has always been level 85, but this one in particular, the sewers level 1 has never been 85. And now that it is a level 85 zone, we're going to have some fun with this particular area. Now this area is huge, and when I say huge, I mean it's just like giganormously huge. And you really have to take into account the size of this place. This zone is filled with preserved undead, horrors. We also have the dolls. As you can see, we literally just lost I literally just had a doll get killed right in front of me by my merc. It is completely filled with all these little waterways and mazes and little bridges, and this area might be better for a character that has teleport, because in general, if you don't have teleport here, you might be in bad shape. It also has the Herodrum, which can be kind of a pain in the butt, because the Herodrum, of course, are going to resurrect everything that you're killing, which makes it very difficult for you to actually kill things. And the Herodrum are also immune to magic, which means that a Hammerden or a Bone Spear Necromancer might have a little bit of trouble here. As we go through this particular zone, you're going to notice that there are things like the Feeders, which are immune to poison. We have the Undead Soul Killers, which are also immune to poison. So far we've got magic immunity and we've got poison immunity. So it looks like Rabies Druids and Poison Nova Necromancers might be a little out of luck, although it kind of depends on what kind of Poison Nova Necromancer you are. Maybe you're rocking a full army, so you have physical damage on top of that. The Horrors are also immune to lightning, as you can see right here. But so far we haven't seen anything that is immune to cold, but we'll keep looking. Now, as you travel through this zone, you will see that it is just a massive, ridiculous zone of ridiculousness. There's clickables everywhere. There's rats' nests everywhere. There's undead everywhere. There's chests everywhere. All over the place in this zone. There's even a super chest in this zone to kind of confuse you. And let me see if I can just sort of teleport around the map, and I'll show you all the different little areas in this map. And so we can really get an idea of just how big this is. Now this is the level 2, and there is a super unique here. He is always in this zone. His name is Ice Hawk Riftwing. Ice Hawk Riftwing is always cold immune, and he always appears here, and he will drop 2 items. He is very similar to a Pindleskin or a Shank or Eldritch the Rectifier. In that he is always next to the sewers level 2 entrance, and he always is here. So we have the sewers level 2, which of course is filled with chests. So if you are a Magic Find character, there's a whole bunch of chests, there's a whole bunch of baskets in here that you can click on, and you can have a little bit of fun at trying to get some good rolls from the super chests and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. There's literally like 4 on each side, and then there's of course the quest chest, and sometimes there is a monster that spawns in here, a elite, and you can kill him as well. But it's definitely worth coming down here if you're going to farm sewers, just to click on all the chests really quickly and just move on. There's just so many little clickables in the sewer level 2, it's kind of ridiculous. And then once you've finished with the sewer level 2, of course, you can completely clear sewers level 1, which does have a rather large number of monsters in it. And as you can see, we've got more poison immunes, we've got some more little dolls, we've got bodies, chests, all sorts of interesting things, and just the massive scope of this zone. Like you guys don't even know. It's just a massive, huge zone with tons and tons of monsters in it, tons and tons of clickables. Tons of entrances that lead back up to the surface, and as you teleport around and you start to kind of get a feel for how the zone works, you're just going to realize that it's just a massive, ridiculous zone that doesn't make any sense. tons of little passageways and things all over the place that make it difficult to traverse. Like I said, not really a good place for a melee character or a character that doesn't have any kind of teleport. A barbarian might have a good time in here, leaping around. A sorceress is going to have a good time in here teleporting, and if you got yourself an enigma, you might be looking pretty nice. But all in all, so far what we're seeing here is that certain characters are going to have an easy time here. So far we have magic immunes, we have lightning immunes, we have poison immunes, which is not bad. Which means that fire is going to do fairly well here, and cold is going to do fairly well here. And I didn't really see a lot of physical immunes either, so physical damage characters may do well here as well. You may run into the occasional physical immune monster through the stone skin mechanic. But for the most part, it looks like most of the monsters in there are not going to be physical immune. So a physical damage character might be okay. Maybe a boson or something, like a multi-shot boson could probably have a good time here. One of the things that you really want to look at with this zone is that there's literally these little, lockout places all over the place. Sometimes there's no bridge. Sometimes you can't cross. And so you can literally just stand there and shoot at the melee monsters that are trying to get access to you. Now, granted, some of them can fly across, but if I were to stand, for instance, on this side, over here, I could literally let that little doll burn in the fires of Gehenna, essentially, and laugh at him while I was doing it. So having a ranged attack in this particular zone is definitely going to be very useful and versatile. So let's move on to the next zone, and let's see what's going on with the next zone. So what is the next zone? The next zone is going to be Abaddon. So Abaddon, Pit of Acheron, and Infernal Pit are 3 zones that appear in Act 5 difficulty. They are a little odd, and nobody ever really liked going into them, nor did they really want to, because there was no reason. Well, now that they're level 85 zones, it's going to be a reason to go in them. The 3 zones are actually located in Frigid Highlands, Ariat Plateau, and Frozen Tundra. So if we go to Frigid Highlands and we teleport around a little bit, we will find them. Now, I've already kind of done a little bit of footwork on this, so I know that they are actually right up here. But when you see them on the map, it's dead obvious because there are these big red sort of like portals that just sort of appear in the middle of a zone. And oh, it's all super chest right there. Nothing could, but that's okay. And you kind of just teleport kind of like in a zigzag back and forth, and your goal is to highlight the portal. So there we go. We've got the first one, which is Abaddon. Now, Abaddon is a zone that is very much like Hell. As you can see, it has the River of Flame aspect to it with all of the fire, and we've got like the little wagons and stuff. And right off the bat, we've got some Hell spawns, which are immune to lightning, of course. Or, sorry, immune to fire, of course. And then we've got Horror Archers, which are immune to poison. So far we've got fire and poison, which is not good for us since we are a fire character. And we also have the witches, which are immune to cold. So we've got the succubuses immune to cold, not good for anybody. I mean, so far the only element that we haven't seen monsters be immune to here is lightning. So we got fire, we got poison, and we got cold so far. Not good. Not a good zone.
Afternoon.
Although this may be a good zone to farm for a melee character. I'm looking at this and I haven't seen any physical immunities yet, which is kind of nice. So we can have some fun, maybe rocking a physical damage character here. I mean, aside from the archers, this might actually still be a good place for poison characters. If you were a poison necromancer, usually you have a little army with you and a good minion. So a small amount of poison for immune monsters might not necessarily be the worst. And you might be able to break the immunity on these guys, so I guess we'll have to see. And let's kind of teleport around. We got some more poison archers. Some more fire immunes, poison archers. Oh, was I in the lava? I'm in the lava over here. I'm burning. Guys, help me. Help me. You can teleport on the lava. Not a very big zone though. I mean, look at it. I'm already finished. Oh wait, no, there's a little bit more over here. Okay. A little bit more over here. Alright, so some more cold immunes, some more poison, some more fire, some more cold. So, you know, just kind of getting an idea of what kind of level we're looking at here. So let's take a look on the list and see if there was anything that spawns in here that we did not see. Oh, my poor mercenary died. So what has maybe spawned in here that we didn't, that could spawn in here, that didn't spawn in here this particular time? So according to the list, demon rascals can spawn in here, which I believe are immune to fire. They're little imps. Let's pull these up real quick. So according to this, demon rascals are immune to fire, so definitely not looking good for a fire character. We also have bloodlords that can spawn in here, and the bloodlords are immune to physical, so that ruins our physical damage character. And then we also have demon imps, which can also spawn in here, and the demon imps are immune to fire as well. So fire not looking like a good choice for Abaddon. We also have the hell riches, which are immune to cold, the hell temptresses, which I believe are also immune to cold. So both the Hell Witch and Hell Temptresses, not good for this particular zone. Apparently some of the Hell Temptresses can actually be immune to physical as well. So physical damage characters really not looking like a good choice for this particular zone. And apparently dolls can spawn here as well. Interesting. So bone fetishes can spawn here, as well as stranglers and balrogs. So honestly, this zone really seems like it spawns just about everything that Chaos Sanctuary can spawn, which means there's going to be a really hefty number of monsters in here that other people can't kill. The stranglers are, of course, immune to lightning. The pit lords are going to be immune to, I believe, fire. Let me just double check this. So these are going to be balrogs, and balrogs are immune to fire. So fire is a big no for this zone. I mean, we've got multiple fire immune monsters in this zone. There's only one poison immune monster in this zone, which means it could potentially be a fairly good poison zone, provided that you can kill the archers in some way. They're not going to be that deadly, but they may be very annoying. You could potentially use your mercenary to kill the archers, or you could use your minions if you're a mercenary. I mean, if you're a summon necromancer, along with being a poison necromancer. And for the most part, I'm definitely going to say fire characters need to avoid this place. There are way too many fire immunes that spawn in Abaddon. So the next zone is up in Ariat Plateau. Now you can take the waypoint to Ariat Plateau, or you can just teleport around and see if you can find it. And we found it pretty quickly. There's the Pit of Acheron. So the Pit of Acheron is the next zone. And before I go through this zone, let me get my trusty mercenary back, shall I? Alright, so let's take a look at the Pit of Acheron, and let's see what kind of zone we're looking at for this particular place. So right off the bat, we have snakes, which are immune to fire, so definitely not a good sign. We got hell temptresses, which don't have any immunity. I'm not really sure what to make of that. A lot of fire immunes so far, though. And of course that curse that makes me consume HP instead of mana for casting spells. Alright, looks like we have some balrogs, which are also immune to fire. Who would have guessed that going into the pits of hell would mean that we would not want to use fire abilities because, you know, the monsters are all immune to fire. Who would have possibly guessed that?
It's locked.
So right now, I'm seeing a zone which is extremely bad for a fire sorceress. But let's go over the list of monsters, potential monsters, and let's take a look and see what other monsters can potentially spawn here. So according to this, Ice Boar can spawn here. A Ice Boar is a same as Eldritch the Rectifier, the Hell Spawn, and of course the Ice Boar is immune to ice. So we have fire immunes and we have ice immunes here. So right now we're looking at fire and ice are definitely a no-go. We have Bloodlords that spawn here, and I already know that Bloodlords are immune to ice. Or sorry, hold on. No, these are the Moon Lords. Okay, so Blood Lords are immune to physical. Okay, so we've got physical immune monsters. 2 different physical immune monsters. The Salamanders, which are immune to fire. We also have Maulers, which spawn in here. The Maulers are the Blunderboars, but they are a specific subclass of the Maulers. And in Hell difficulty, they are immune to poison. Interesting. And then we also have Maw Fiends. And the Maw Fiends are also immune to poison. So far we've got immune to poison, immune to physical, and immune to fire, which means that cold and lightning seem to be do very well here, as well as there's room for physical damage if you have cold or lightning as a subclass. So interesting. If you were like a I don't know, like a Holy Shock Paladin that's you doing physical damage and lightning damage, you might do very well here. A Cold Sorceress who is subbed into lightning might do very well here, as well as a Javazon might do very well here. So very interesting. It's interesting that these zones are different than each other. All right, so the next zone is actually much further away, and it is in the Ariat Plateau, I believe. Sorry, not the Ariat Plateau. It's in the Frozen Tundra. So you can take the waypoint to Frozen Tundra, which I would recommend, and you're going to teleport around again until you find the pit of the next pit. So it's going to be fairly obvious, just like the last one. As you teleport around, you should see the pit. And I wonder if it's just always next to the waypoint. Could be interesting if it is. I keep cursing me with that using my health as mana thing, and it is kicking my butt. There it is, the Infernal Pit. Alright, so let's go take a look at the Infernal Pit, shall we? So the Infernal Pit, according to the list of monsters that are currently capable of spawning in this zone, we have the Fireboar, which doesn't look good for fire characters, the Blood Boss, the Demon Trickster, the Hell Witch, Death Lord, Unholy Corpse, Night Lord, Blood Lord, Stygian Doll, Salamander, Oblivion Knight, and Doom Knight. Quite a large bevy of monsters that spawn in this particular zone. Let's take a look and let's actually just teleport around and let's see what kind of trouble we get ourselves into, shall we? All right, so here we go. So right off the bat, we've got fire and cold from the Doom Knights. So both fire and cold. We've got poison from the undead corpses. So fire, cold, and poison so far. Lots of poison, lots of fire, lots of cold. We've got salamanders, which is even more fire. So fire, poison, and cold are looking like really bad choices for this particular zone. Lightning may be a better choice for this particular zone. Interesting. A lot of fire, a lot of lightning, a lot of cold. Not a lot of lightning. So fire, cold, and poison are the 3 that seem to be really prevalent in this particular zone. And according to the list of monsters, we do have some physical immunes. So the blood lords are going to be in here. Those are going to be physically immune. So you have to watch out for those if you are a physical damage character. Look at my my merc just handling business. We've also got the vampires that spawn in here, which are going to be cold immune, of course. The vampires are almost always cold immune. And the fetishes that are going to spawn in here are, let's see, they're just called Stygian dolls. Okay, so so what are the Stygian dolls there? I think they're usually immune to poison. Looks like mainly immune to poison. Yeah. They could, however, be immune to lightning or cold, but that seems to be rare. And then, of course, we've got the salamanders in here, which are immune to fire, which is not good. The reanimated horde is immune to poison. So really looking like lightning in this particular zone. We're really seeing a lot of lightning in here. I'm not really seeing any monsters that are immune to lightning in this particular zone at all. And that's going over everything. So that's kind of interesting. I would definitely say that you could bring a lightning sorceress in here with pretty much ease, and you could definitely bring a physical damage character in here with pretty much no problem, as long as the Death Lord does not spawn. So the Death Lords are the only physical immune monsters, and as long as you have some kind of way to kill them, you might be all right in here as a physical damage character. Very interesting. So the last two zones that we're going to go over are actually cold zones, and there is a very, very high probability that these zones are not going to be suitable for cold damage characters. And those two zones are the Icy Cellar and the Drifter Cavern. Now, the Icy Cellar and the Drifter Cavern, up till this particular point, had absolutely no purpose other than, you know, just to be an extra zone to go into. So let's see if we can find those, shall we? Alright, so in Act 5, the easiest way to get to Drifter Cavern and Icy Cellar are to go to their respective waypoints. So Glacial Trail is going to be one of them, and Ancient's Way is going to be the other. So if you go to Glacial Trail and you teleport around, you will eventually find, I believe it's Drifter Cavern in this particular zone. It's a pretty obvious thing when you find it, because there's usually some champions sitting around that particular entrance. And basically you're just going to teleport around, or rather, you know, if you're a melee character, you're going to try and find it by walking, but there it is, it's Drifter Cavern. So you will get these nice champions at the beginning of every single one of these, which is going to get you some potions, I suppose, if you need to fill up your belt, which is not bad. And there's usually a bunch of clickables around the entrance as well. But when you get in here, it's not exactly a ridiculously large zone. It's actually quite a small zone. As you can see, I'm going to teleport around the edges of the zone, and I'm also going to go through the center. It's a relatively small zone that's very highly packed with champions and minions. And right off the bat, we've got immune to cold, immune to poison mages. We also have some immune to cold Night Clan. And we have immune to lightning afflicteds. Very interesting. So, you know, obviously because this was a cold zone, we were expecting to see cold, but we also got to see some lightning and some poison. So it really seems like this might be a very good place for a fire damage character. Quite interesting. And let's go and we'll take a look at this zone in the list, and we'll see what kind of monsters potentially spawn here as well. So according to this, it is Snowdrifters, Abominables, which of course are going to be immune to cold. Snowdrifters, also immune to cold. Frozen Terrors, immune to cold. Moon Lords, which are apparently marked as a guest monster, which means they show up sometimes and sometimes they don't. Moon Lords apparently are immune to fire, so they will be the very few monsters that you would come in here that are immune to fire. So interesting. Your Merc might be able to kill them, though, since they're not immune to physical damage. We have Succubus is going to be in here, and the Succubus is apparently not immune to anything. That's interesting. We also have the Vile Temptress. And the Vile Temptress is going to be immune to poison. And then sometimes we will get the Dark Archers. There will be Ghosts in here, which are going to be immune to physical. Interesting. The Dark Archers, I believe, are also immune to cold, so that's no good. So this zone is definitely not going to be a good place for cold resistant people. We also have the ghosts, which are going to be immune to physical, but the ghosts have a good rune drop chance, so you never know. And then, of course, we also have the Infidel and the Afflicted. The Infidels are Sand Raiders. They're the ones that usually appear in Act 2 difficulty, and Infidels are also going to be immune to cold here. So definitely very, very bad for cold. And then we get the Tainteds, which are, of course, always immune to lightning, which is interesting. And I mean, just in general, we're looking at cold resistance, cold resistance, cold resistance, a little bit of poison, and a little bit of lightning. So for the most part, it seems like if you were a fire damage character, you were pretty good here. There is a couple physical damage immunes in this particular zone, so I would watch out for that if you are a physical damage character. But for the most part, it seems like you'll be okay, unless you get like the Death Lords or the Ghosts. This zone will actually be pretty decent to farm. And as a Hammerdin who's running magic, I've seen absolutely no magic damage monsters or magic immune monsters here, so you're probably pretty good farming this zone as well as a Hammerdin. So keep that in mind. Now the next zone is going to be in Ancient's Way, I believe, and we're going to teleport around Ancient's Way until we find the Icy Cellar. So the Icy Cellar, let's go. Now, sometimes you'll find it right away, and sometimes you won't. Oh, God, that is a lot of monsters. Whew. Didn't even have my energy shield up. That could have went bad. And there we go. There's the Icy Cellar. And, of course, you also get the champions around here, which is nice. And sometimes the champions are going to be Moon Lords, though, so not as nice. Alright, so Icy Cellar, just like Drifter Cavern, is going to be a relatively small zone. As you can see, I can teleport around the edges of this zone with relative ease, and there's really not a lot going on here. We've got the Abominables in here, which are definitely immune to cold. We've got the Bats, which are immune to lightning. And I saw some other monsters in here. There we go. We got Witches that are also immune to cold. And so cold and lightning is really all I'm seeing so far. A lot of elites, a lot of interesting clickables, a lot of evil urns and things like that, which you're probably going to want to click on if you're magic finding, because those are elites. And I say a fire sorcerer is probably going to have some good time here, but let's do a quick check on the website, and let's see what this particular zone has for monsters other than what we've seen so far. So we've got Frozen Abysses, which are cold. Abominable is cold. Frozen Creeper is cold. Frozen Terror is cold. Stygian Harlot, which we just found out was cold. Hell Temptress is also cold. We've got Sirens. I don't think I saw any Sirens, but those are also Witches, and there's a very good chance those are probably cold. It doesn't look like the Sirens have an immunity. Interesting. They're just sort of like... No, they're immune to cold. Never mind. So the Sirens are also immune to cold. Lots and lots of cold here. We've got Prowling Dead, which will spawn here, which are, of course, immune to poison. Those are the undead horde that get up and follow you. But I believe they are going to be immune to cold here, specifically. I think it's 170%. Oh, God. 170% on the Prowling Dead for this zone. So, again, not good for cold. We also have some Stygian dolls, which can spawn here. And it looks like they're going to be immune to poison. And we also have Pit Vipers, which are going to be immune to cold, I'm pretty sure. The Pit Vipers tend to be immune to cold, but I'll double check this just to be sure. Yes, Pit Vipers are immune to cold. So very, very, very cold zone. Very, very good for characters who are not running cold damage. We also have Ghosts that can spawn here, which are, of course, going to be immune to physical damage. And these particular ones are also going to be immune to poison. It's interesting. They have double immunity, which means they're always going to be immune to poison and cold. There are some Gloams, apparently, that can spawn on here. And, of course, the Gloams are going to be immune to lightning. I was not fortunate enough to get the gloams. But I suppose if you did find the gloams in here and you didn't necessarily want to fight them, you probably would just bow out. You could build your character around a little bit of lightning immunity and usually take them out with ease. Dim vision actually works surprisingly good on them as well. It is a really high concentration of monsters, though, in a very small zone. And as a sorceress, you're going to be able to do things like this, where you can just, you know, attack from across a pathway, which is certainly going to be very helpful in killing this kind of stuff. And of course, these guys are going to be a little hard because they fire AoE attacks. And the bats, of course, are going to be relatively easy to kill because they just kind of like to sit there for the most part. I definitely recommend that you have a really nice mercenary with you because those there are a couple monsters in here which are going to just bum rush you. Most specifically, the Moon Lords. Whenever you fight those are some bum rushing characters. I'll tell you what. But all in all, this looks like a fairly solid place for a fire character or maybe a Hammerton or maybe even a lightning character. There's only a couple lightning immunes in here, so it's not too terribly bad. The bats are really the only ones that are going to be immune to lightning, and your mercenary might be able to take those out with relative ease. Well, it's been about an hour, and we've covered every area on the list, and I'm actually really excited to have other zones other than our normal level 85 zones to farm in. This is going to be really fun because it's going to offer a little bit of diversity in our play style. It's going to give us a little more sanity as we farm multiple zones. You know, maybe we are losing our mind farming the pit or ancient tunnels over and over again, and so now you can have a little bit more diversity by going in between multiple zones. This also gives us an added benefit of potentially finding better items. So I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but any unique item that you find in a single game will not drop again. And having multiple level 85 zones to farm means that you can potentially find more unique items than you could before. How many times have you found a unique ring and the unique ring was a Nagel ring, right? Well, if you find a unique ring, a Nagel, in a game, and you farm another zone and you find another unique ring, there is a guarantee that it will not be a Nagel a second time. So for instance, if you were to farm an entire game and you were to find a bunch of the, you know, sort of crappy uniques, eventually you would no longer be able to find those crappy uniques, and those items that could potentially roll as better uniques, like for instance rings and amulets, would be forced to roll as a different unique other than the one that it always seems to roll as, which is very cool. As always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when they are an hour and 7 minutes long. And I hope that you had as much fun as I did going over these zones and talking about what characters could potentially use them for magic finding and having fun in. And as always, keep watching.